Over on this side we have turquoise, and I call it the bottom one citrine because there's a lot of yellow. This is called Hatfield House 2005. So for those of you not familiar, Hatfield House is the grand house in England where Queen Elizabeth, when she was the princess, was living while she was waiting for her half-sister, Queen Mary, also known as Bloody Mary, to die and for her to become queen, which she did. We were there in 2005, hence the name, and I fell in love with this scene because it was so serene. I also decided to put in one of my tunics or a dress, depending on how tall you are, that I made. It's from a folkwear pattern, but then of course I changed it because that's who I am. I like to put piping along all of my seams, and that's kind of one of my signature things when I was costuming, was to have piping on everything. And then I went through, and the sleeve cuffs are a really gorgeous red and green and black brocade. And so everywhere there was black, I sewed on beads, 3-cut beads. Pam, our resident quilter, one of our resident quilters, decided to do a small series, and so this is your effervescent zebra or zebra, depending on how you pronounce it. One of Pam's big quilts that I absolutely love is called High Line in New York. This used to be a elevated railroad, and the city decided to turn it into a park, and this is what it looks like. It's just really pretty wonderful. Here's another one of Carol's silk scarves. She's called this whole series, various places along the Silk Road. So this is Baku green, and so if you get up close, it looks kind of bluish, but especially in the video, but when I step back, it really is a green. I'll step back all the way so you can see. It's a really nice scarf or shawl. Carol's shawls or scarves, coming down the length of it. It's called Zany Zanzibar. I love the background color because it looks beige until you get up close to it and you see there's all these different colors in there. And then she's highlighted it with some horizontal threads of different colors. Zany Zanzibar, down to the fringe at the bottom. As I said earlier, Paula is our newest member, and she is a felter par excellence. This is a really good example of her felting ability. The face, this just blows me away. As I said, I've tried to do some felting. I could never do anything close to this, and so it's amazing to be around her. And she's highlighted it with adding other things. Make it pop. This is called Good Fortune, so she's your fortune teller. This is another one of Pam's quilt called Daybreak is Your Midnight. And if you walk up close, you can see that she has hand stitched the circles. And it all around daybreak and midnight, depends on where you are, with just a little tiny bit of red to highlight and provide contrast. This is my latest thing that I finished, and this was actually a year of stitching and about 9 years of thinking about it. This is called Kama Aina quilt. Kama Aina means native born in Hawaiian, and I am native born. And it's a crazy quilt because I am besotted with crazy quilts. If I get close, you can see that there's the brown and the black parts, and that's all about the lava because the Hawaiian Islands are volcanic, and it underlines the volcano. The lava underlies all of the structures as well as the Hawaiian culture. If you get closer, and I'll say it, then it's surrounded by a lei, and the shape is sort of reminiscent of an island. The lei is made out of plumeria or frangipani flowers, which are very prevalent, and everybody wears leis of various kinds. If you get up close, you can see that in the center is how the Hawaiians got there. There is a petroglyph of their ship, and up here above them is the Little Dipper, which is one of the things they use to navigate. And in the surrounding ones, we have a lot of tapa, which is the mulberry bark cloth. I had a lot of samples left over from my childhood. And then the other things that are there are a lot of buttons that my father made. When you get out from there, we'll start over here. The things that you will see in Hawaii are, there are silver swords, which are plants, and the one at the top is blooming. There's the flowers, kind of hard to see. And a nene goose, which is the state bird, and they're hard to see, and it kind of blends in here because that's what they do. They blend in. They live up in the rocks. Down here we have an iiwi. This is one of the honey creepers. This is one of the most common birds that's left of the honey creeper variety. This is a paper anthurium. Down at the very bottom we have an ohia lehua tree. Ohia is the name of the tree and lehua is the name of the flower, and it's one of the first things that grows in lava after it's cooled. Up here we have an akipa bird, which is very common and is also surrounded. I've surrounded all the birds with vines because it's so lush and they really do kind of disappear. The last one is up here is an akapane, and he's also a honey creeper and is having a little snack from the lehua flower. And then I have surrounded the perimeter, go around the perimeter, with green because this is the lush tropics. So this is Kama Aina. Something else by me. This is kind of my wall back here. This is called ebb tide. And if you get close, you can see that there's lots of different kinds of shells. Some are real, some are charms. There's some other stuff in there. And I had two sources of information. One was years ago when I was visiting in the Adriatica in Yugoslavia. I took a picture of what I thought was sunlight on the water, but oops, I took a picture of the bottom. And then also I read about a tsunami coming into Hilo Bay in Hawaii on the Big Island, and everybody, the water rushed in and then it sucked back out, and everybody ran into the bay to find out what was on the seabed, and then the water rushed back in, and of course they were all drowned. So this is what the bottom would have looked like. And my personal challenge was to figure out how to make it look like the bottom of the seabed. Let me get back here so you can get the whole effect. Finish that I finished, I guess, last Christmas. This is called Elvenwood Portal. And this was an adaptation from a Catherine Drummond design. I took a class from her to learn how to do a specific stitch, realized I already knew it under a different name, but I really liked the way the door was done and the steps in the front, although of course I changed it because I change everything. I then decided it needed context, and I thought it looked like, she called it a fairy door, I called it a portal. So I went out and took pictures of a lot of maple trees in our area and selected the one from the park 2 doors down from us and decided that this was where you entered the 4th dimension. And next to it is an oak tree. And if I get up close, you can see that the door knocker is an oak leaf and the door handle is an acorn. And then there's a lot of different maple leaves that have blown up against the bottom of the steps. And then over here are some oak leaves that I had left over from some project, and that's why there's an oak tree over there. And also to give it some color contrast. If I move over here, this is the brown wall. Up here we have Out of Africa, and this was me trying to use up charms and beads from my life in the 70s when I did a lot of beading. And then I also, this is 1 and 2, I also used the stitches from a piece of African art that I have to make the geometric sidelines here on the sides. Here we have another one of Carol's scarves, and this is called Baku Red. Bukhara, sorry, I lied. Bukhara Red, and that's what she's called the color down here. What I love about this quilt are all of the brown, the black or dark pieces that she's put over here. They almost look like lines of text, and it makes you think that it's really, really old, said the woman who has to make a story about everything. Next to it we have the fortune teller in the garden. This is obviously another one of Paula's pieces. Look at that face. I mean, that is just amazing to me. She has so much definition and so much color in this woman's face, and it's surrounded by all the different kinds of flowers that you might find in a fantasy garden. Here has got another one of Carol's scarves. This is another sea slug, and it's the same colors as the other scarf, but it looks almost completely different because the weaving pattern is so different. We also have a lot of her woven bands. Again, these were woven on something called an inkle loom. So I'm going to get close so you can see that's one pattern with the zigzags. And we have another one over here. And then another one here. Whoops, to get my camera organized here. Here's a close-up of her sea slug pattern, weaving pattern. And another woven band, 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 and band. Now we have another one of Pam's small quilts. She's a great lover of cats, and so, gosh, it's called Cat Love. This is Gail's quilt called After Paul Klee. She's a major fan of Paul Klee. And this is from a book of his paintings. I'm going to get close so that you can see the background is really pieced. Lots and lots of little squares, and her color choices are so amazing. And then you have the little guy in the middle who's so fun, and lots of stuff embroidered in the middle. Across the top in this little room we have Pam's bird called Tweet. We have Rainbow Heart. And over here we have Sing. Gail, she also likes Kandinsky, and this was her interpretation of one of his paintings after Kandinsky. And then the last things we have over here, this is our little, continuing the bird theme. Gail made a lot of felt birds, which are hanging in the window. And it's just so fun. It's like you can be a bird watcher here, and you can look through and you can see what's on the other side. And last but certainly not least is Night Crow by our member Corrine, by Raktarolu, who now lives in Arizona but is here at the moment. And she sent me this picture, and it's cyanotype fabric. So she drew the crow and the branch with the flowers and then put it out in the sun, and the magic thing happened, and then she went through and stitched the flowers. I hope you've enjoyed our little tour through the Textile Art Group exhibit in Yellow Springs. If you see something you like and you live close, come on down, eat at the Winds. They would appreciate the business, and the food is phenomenal. And if not, just walk through and take a look at some good art. Take care. Thanks. Bye.